because of the engagements that were there, and the protesters were targeting everyone, police officers and journalists who were there. So for a moment, we were around Kangela Mall, where the police had staged a barricade, and from either sides, of coming into Kangela town. This is along the Nairobi Namanga road through to Kajiado and Namanga. The police had, from what we assessed, they were sort of protecting Kangela Mall because it houses a couple of supermarkets, notably Naivas supermarket in there. But even as we were there, we saw the police were there retreat, all of them getting into police lorries and leave, and we had to leave with them for our own safety. But what done, we can report as at now, is that I have at least seen one person seriously injured here in Kangela with what appears to be head injuries. This person was approaching towards where the police officers were. We had blasts, what we assume perhaps were the tear gas canisters and ammunitions that were being blasted, and later on, few minutes on later, we saw this person fall on the ground, and they did not wake up at all. They did not make a move. They did not wake up. I went personally close to where this person lied down, and there were 2 injuries on the head, and he was bleeding profusely. We have those shots on camera. And later on, even as especially from the Red Cross, I tried to approach and assist. They were also hurled with stones and had to retreat. And eventually, it is the protesters who gathered around that particular person and carried him away. We cannot, as at now, speak about the status of that person. We do not know whether he is alive or dead. But what we know is that they carried that person and took him to where the police station is. And what I have seen right now, along again this road, this from Nairobi coming to Kangela, about 4 Subaru vehicles that are unnumbered have just gone towards Kangela town, where the protesters are 4 in number, grey and silverish in color, not numbered, not or at least the registration numbers have been plaqued out, and they have gone towards Kangela. We presume perhaps, though we cannot say with certainty, maybe security officers, but because we have seen this previously where unnumbered vehicles carried security officers to maintain law and order in a particular area. So that I can confirm. In fact, it was only seconds before we went on air on this particular broadcast, vehicles went towards Kangela town. The road here has been barricaded on 2 sides. The road has been barricaded on this side when you're coming from Nairobi, and also on the other end, if you're coming from Kajiado, you also cannot get into Kangela town. Businesses have been closed, or businesses have been shut rather, and Fidel can show you from behind him, lorries coming, but most of them are forced to make a turn. If you're to follow this particular vehicle, it either makes a complete turn and heads a complete different direction, but it cannot go through bonfires lit by the protesters. We spoke to a couple of protesters earlier, and they were telling us that they are in the streets to protest the killing of civilians. That is the reason as to why they are in the streets, and this has been like this since morning. Earlier on, we started from Outer Ring Road, that is around Kware area and further. It was a bit calm when we came to Kangela, passing through Mlolongo. It was a bit tense, but I can tell you for sure that the action is here in Kangela, where protesters are engaging police in running battles. We cannot ascertain the situation currently at Kangela Mall since the police retreated, and they retreated because I presume perhaps having run out of what to use against the protesters, because in my entire stay here in Kangela, I have seen very minimal use of tear gas canisters, but there have been blasts of what I presume to be rubber bullets, and perhaps actual bullets, live bullets. Some have been collected by the people, and there also has been lots of engagement from the protesters, lots of hurling of stones towards the police officers in what we believed from where we were, because we asked ourselves why the protesters seemed to be targeting where the police officers were, and the only possible explanation is because that is where Kangela Mall is, and those businesses there, and like I mentioned, there is a supermarket there, perhaps with an intent to loot, because having spoken to some of the persons here, none appear to have told me where they're heading or whether they're having any petitions to take to any particular office. The offices or the places that have been barricaded by the police officers include the malls and the area constituency headquarters, or the MP's office here, having been barricaded not so far from here. But that's how it's been. Basically, businesses are not running here in Kangela the entire day today, and the youth appear not to relent. They appear to be ready to take the police officers in complete running battles. What I can confirm is one person has seriously been injured. We cannot confirm the status right now until we get the proper confirmation, but from what I saw, that person was hit and lied on the ground motionless. There were 2 injuries on the head, because I got close to where the person was lying and he was bleeding profusely. We have that particular footage on record, having been captured by our very own Fidel and Figure. So we keep on following. I also know that a police officer, I think the police officer who was commanding the officers here, was also injured on the fingers, and it was while trying to prevail upon the crowds to maintain peace. He was actually lifting his hands and telling the people to calm down when a stone hit his fingers, and was seriously injured on the fingers. So at least 1 police officer injured and 1 civilian seriously injured from Kangela. That happened about an hour or so ago. We have retreated slightly out of the town, but we remain here to update you what will happen even as the hours unfold. The latest is the arrival of the 4 Subaru vehicles unregistered that have come into Kangela town. Like I said, we presume that those are police officers here perhaps to maintain law and order, but that is something that we shall be following up on to see what happens. So yes, ndugu yangu songa kidogo tu, those are the live pictures. Of course, one person still trying to enhance the bonfire that had been lit. This side is very peaceful, but on the other side, right now sounds a bit calm, but earlier on you could hear blasts which came from police engagement with the protesters. A number of journalists here, like I said, journalists have also been a target. As we were retreating from Kangela Mall, the vehicle that we were using also came under very heavy attack, stones being hurled at us, and that's why we had to retreat. But so far, that is the situation in Kangela, even as the country is now past 1 month of protests. What protests that started against the finance bill of 2024, protests that have seen President William Ruto concede not once but twice. One, by rejecting the finance bill; secondly, by dismissing his cabinet. But protests that are still ongoing, and right now people stating that they want accountability and they want answers, especially to the lives lost during those particular protests. It is important to remind our viewers that yesterday Monday was when the dialogue which the president had proposed was set to start, but the people said they wanted nothing to do with that dialogue, even forcing opposition leaders who had initially accepted. Those are blasts done. Those are very heavy blasts coming from the other side. From a far end, I can see a Super Metro Matatu having made a U-turn. I can see at least 2 bonfires, and later on we will try, even as we mind our own safety, to get to that particular end. I think the 4 Subaru vehicles have stopped somewhere with police officers, and that is where those blasts have come from, engaging the people here in Kangela. But lots on social media, lots of engagements, some trying to pour water on the protests here, and others trying to encourage the protests. And this coming just a day after President William Ruto named organizations allegedly that are sponsoring this particular protests. But according to the people here, they are saying they are protesting the killings of people. They have also mentioned that their anger, their bile is not only on the national government but also on the county government. They are saying that they have issues with how Kajiado County has been run under the leadership of Governor Olelenku, and those are some of the issues that we shall be telling our viewers later. So they also state that even as they are speaking issues to the national government, they are also speaking to the county government and how or why they feel they should be governed better. So that is the latest done. We shall get back to you and our viewers the moment we have more information to update them. But so far, one person injured, one civilian injured, one police officer injured, and for that civilian, it is a serious injury. We cannot confirm the status right now, but we shall be getting to see what exactly happened. Like I said, we have the footage on record, and we shall be, of course, looking at it and even talking to authorities to know what exactly happened here. Dan, back to you.
Very much, Ibrahim, for that comprehensive, I wouldn't call it a brief anymore, but comprehensive update on what's happening there. And thank you for also just taking care of yourselves. And now we cross over to the county of Kisumu, where we have Judith Cherono Monde standing by to give us a sense of what's happening in the county of Kisumu. I hear it's calm, but Judith, the reason you're there is to give us the update. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Dan. Indeed, about 45 minutes ago, the police managed to contain the situation, and now calm has returned. And as you can see, I'm standing here at the Oginga Street, and I'm with some of those youth who are participating in the protest. Let's hear from them what they really want to tell us.
My name is George Museveni. Ruto gota mgote tena. Ruto lazima nguke nayo. Hata kama tumefukuzwa na polisi.
We'll be crossing over back to Judith Cherono later in this broadcast, but as you can see on the other half of your screen, we have the ongoing protest and, back and forth between police and protesters in Kimathi Street, on Kimathi Street, I should say, in Nairobi Central Business District, where we could still see the scene is having a cloud of tear gas smoke just painting all across it. And as we had seen from my colleague Fred Muitiriri, we had a number of instances where we had the police lobbing the tear gas canisters, other protesters who are not relenting. And like he had mentioned, the tear gas today seems to be stronger in its concentration. And so if you've heard about tears in my eyes being said as a phrase, today is one of those days that will become all the more realistic. And we shall also be getting a sense of what's happening in the different counties, including the county of Nakuru, where we have Bridget Ngana, who is standing by to give us a sense of what's happening in the county of Nakuru. Bridget, good to see you this afternoon. We'd seen you earlier on in the earlier broadcast. What's the status update of the county of Nakuru, at least as far as where you're at?
Now, right now I'm on the Nakuru Eldoret highway, and earlier on, as you've mentioned in the morning, there was no indication that there would be protests here in Nakuru County. But for the last 3 hours, police and protesters have been engaging in cat and mouse chases, and it all happened within the Kenyatta Avenue. That's the main street within Nakuru City. But right now here along the highway, I've seen towards my left-hand side, there is a police lorry that is seemingly trying to remove the protesters on this side of the highway. Of importance is trying to keep the protesters within the city and not on the highway so that it does not affect transport. The protesters are still going on with their protest, though in a smaller number compared with previous protests. But right now we are also seeing another contingent of vehicles just trying to ensure that the highway is clear and that people traveling towards the western side of the country are not inhibited either to and from the western side towards Nairobi and from Nairobi towards the western side of the country. The road has been active, but inside Kenyatta Avenue, even up until now, there is a lot of tension, and young people are still congregating and being dispersed by police lobbing tear gas canisters. I had the opportunity to speak with the civil society here in Nakuru County, and they say it is the police who are being very aggressive with protesters, yet this is a protest that is enshrined in the Constitution. They are exercising their legitimate right as Kenyans, but the police are really responding in a manner that is suggestive and in a manner that is provocative. As of now, one person has been injured since the protests began, and that is when he was caught in the melee between the protesters and the police, and a stone or a rock hit his head. He bled profusely. On the social media, it is indicated that he was hurt by a police tear gas canister or even a rubber bullet, but that is not the case. We would like to clarify to our viewers that the injured person here in Nakuru County was through a rock hitting him on the head, and that was during the protest. And there are also rubber bullets that are being shot at protesters. I've seen some, I've taken pictures of them along the highway, along Kenyatta Avenue. But right now, the situation is tense. Town looks like there is no business that has taken place in the last 4 hours. That is just a protester who's just run off the shot and they are trying.
Thank you very much, Bridget, for the update. We shall be coming back to you once we have resolved the technical issue there. But once again, what we have on our screens are scenes and shots of Nairobi Central Business District. That is at the junction of Kimathi Street and Kenyatta Avenue, where we are seeing the different protesters who are still facing off with the police officers. Now we cross over back to the county of Kisumu for Judith Cherono Moni to give us an idea of what exactly, paint the picture for us, and maybe we could just see what exactly is happening in the county of Kisumu from where you stand.
Thank you once again, Dan Mwangi. Hello. Thank you once again, Dan Mwangi. Like I said earlier on, the police came and dispersed the protesters, and now calm has been restored in the city. And a few of those who are protesting are now, if you can see behind me, they are playing with the rubber bullets, saying that police shouldn't be hard on them and that they shouldn't be hurt. They're just playing with the rubber bullets, as you can see. One of the people who is said to have been injured with a rubber bullet, I saw the colleagues rushing him to hospital. We are yet to find out more details on that. But so far, at least we can say that we've not reported any case of death here in the Kisumu city.
All right, thank you very much, Judith Cherono, for that, and we shall just be keeping an eye on the shots and the scenes that are in the county of Kisumu, as you can see them playing what looks like marbles. In my younger days, we used to call it Bano, which seems like that's what they are playing on the streets of Kisumu. And this, we are back to the capital, the streets of Nairobi. You could see the Kanjoti are going to have quite some work tomorrow, and this is where Brian Moshiri is watching out for us, just keeping an eye on things for us on one side of CBD. The other side is where we had Frederick Mwiti. A sense of what's happened, and we already have reports of serious injuries in different parts of the country. Ibrahim Karanja has made it clear that he saw an individual who was shot and fell to the ground, and Ibrahim and the team went and looked at him. He was lying there motionless. We cannot confirm whether he died or otherwise, but that is a of what Ibrahim Karanja saw. Now we cross back to the capital city, the CBD. This is where we have Brian Moshiri. Brian, maybe you could give us an update of where exactly in the CBD you are and what exactly is happening there.
Thank you very much, Dan. Coming to you from the Moi Avenue. These are the shots from Nation Center behind behind the Nation Center, as well as Moi Avenue. Police have started engaging protesters. We do apologize to our viewers for any form of shaky shots on air. This is Moi Avenue. This is the Naivas supermarket, right outside Naivas supermarket as we know it. Towards that particular side where you can see crowds is
the situation at hand. All of a sudden, we have seen a multitude of individuals just present themselves at
On Moi Avenue, they are throwing stones and objects at police. However,
Okay, Brian Moshiri there expressing just a sense of where he's at near the Naivas supermarket at Moi Avenue, and we can see that we still see the armed police officers as well as protesters, and this is yet another case of the people complaining that there has been excessive use of force against protesters in different parts of the country, while others have recorded peace and calm in the course of the day. So we get back to Brian Moshiri. I believe we have him back on the line. Brian, you are saying?
Yes, Dan. Like I was initially putting it, my camera person and I are currently on Moi Avenue. What I want to give you is a sense of the situation. So we're walking on Moi Avenue towards the city, the Central Police Station, as well as the University of Nairobi as we know it on Moi Avenue. So this is the shot outside Nation Center from Moi Avenue, and like I was saying initially, all of a sudden we've seen young men and women, perhaps youth as you'd like to call it, just come out from some different areas. At this point in time they are lobbing or throwing stones, objects at police. We are behind police as is the recommended way of covering protests. So currently as we are right now, this is in front of Sawa Mall. The shots that are coming to you live right now are in front of Sawa Mall on Moi Avenue. Police are continuing to engage protesters from the side on Central Police Station and from the University of Nairobi. So slowly by slowly we are walking towards these protesters. There's a shot that is behind me that you might not be able to see. However, there is some reinforcement for police officers just walking towards this big crowd that has assembled at right now I call it the junction between at Moi Avenue and the Central Police Station from its perimeter wall. All I can say, Dan, is unlike any other prior protests that we had seen earlier on in the course of the day, this youth right now are engaging police in stone throwing. Like you can see, the Moi Avenue, of course, is now awash with objects on the road, stones, debris from tear gas canisters and what have you. So we are walking. Right now we have gotten to the Mount Kenya University Towers. This is the MKU Towers. Just walking towards the protesters, engaging them. And the police now, these young men are now seriously unrelenting, and they are now one-on-one with the police. So it's just a sense of the situation here along Moi Avenue. Again, this is a multitude of young men and women that have just shown up. Nobody had really anticipated them from this particular area. The police are still lobbing tear gas canisters to this rowdy youth. We are just walking towards them. Ahead of me from where I sit, I have noticed a bonfire that has been lit on Moi Avenue. However, the police continue to just engage and walk towards them. You will also note that this crowd has sort of like two factions. There is an individual at the front there who is waving a flag, and he says, "Don't throw stones," whereas on the other side, behind him, where the other protesters are, they are throwing stones. So you realize there are like sort of two factions to this particular protest. And at this area on Moi Avenue, the police have stopped. Right now we are in front of the Turkana Business Center, or as you know it, the opposite side of Smoothers Dishes. Again, still walking towards police officers. and the police now. Dan, we have to keep our eye because this year. Okay, here's the reinforcement now. Here's the reinforcement now. So Dan, this is some more reinforcement for the police officers that we have been working with on Moi Avenue. They are now starting to engage. Young men and women have lit a bonfire on Moi Avenue. I can see that, and they are saying now that tuko wengi, wako wengi, they are a lot and their numbers. Now the police have started to shoot what I would say perhaps blank bullets just to disperse the rowdy youth. Also, Dan, we are noticing that the protesters also tend to hide in these small alleys that are in the central business district. So there is a space. There is definitely an alley between a building and another. So some of the protesters tend to hide inside these alleys within the streets like Kamba Lane, Kimathi Lane. We have noticed that now the police officers have realized this. Into a lane, into an alley in the central business district. Done. So right now we are still on Moi Avenue. The big crowd that had formed here on Moi Avenue leading into the Central Police Station as well as the University of Nairobi has now been calmed. However, they, after a few minutes, after the police have engaged them, they start to regroup again. Like now. That was barely a minute and a half ago when the street was clear, and now they're back. So I can see an individual who looks like the commander of this particular unit that has come as reinforcement, just showing individuals and his team from Tubman Road. We are at the junction on Tambad Road and Moi Avenue, not to leave that particular area. Now he's leading his troops in out and perhaps Tomboya Street, where these protesters are or have been engaging. Right now we are in front of the Bazaar, that popular building on Moi Avenue called the Bazaar. Sorry Dan, the tear gas here is quite heavy, but yes, so this now is on Moi Ave to engage this particular protesters. The police now do not want to see any individual that are standing in form of groups. Anyone who forms or stands in any form of a group is now being calmed. Dan, allow us to walk again towards the area in which the protesters are. This is the area where now these protesters are jumping into the Jivanji on Moi Avenue still, but police still continue to engage them. On Biashara Street on our left, there is still another group that continues to from this particular area. Buddha riders indicate that they are not part of this protest, therefore they will not engage. Now Dan, we need to go off air because the protesters have now almost sandwiched one of those situations where protesters now move into different areas and angles of that particular area on Moi Avenue. So Dan, for now, let me just give you some shots on the situation at hand. Dan, if you still can hear me, it was quite a rattling situation here on Moi Avenue. However, the young men and women are now engaging, and I will ask that my camera person really leaves this particular area so that we walk behind police officers. All of a sudden, Dan, like we say, all of a sudden these young men and women have come up, and we are now being
All right, thank you very much, Brian. Just stay safe. As you can see, it's quite an active scene there in the central business district of Nairobi. We could see quite a heavy contingent of police officers on location as we continue with our coverage of the demonstrations. It's yet another Tuesday of protests. And these have come weeks on, and these have been a pain point for the security officials, but even more for the people, especially in the light of people being killed, people being injured, and even abducted, where there have been feelings that it was not warranted or it was beyond what was necessary. And we shall be getting updates on the same. And as we speak, actually not too long ago, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, that's at KNCHR, has released a statement which is speaking to the different issues. One, around the anti-financial bill protests, which have now morphed into somewhat anti-government protests. And just to give you a sense of what the statement says on that, it says that so far a total of 50 people have died in relation to the protests. Some of them succumbed to injuries while they were undergoing treatment, while other bodies were discovered under the debris of Sunbeam Mall in Nairobi. The dead are from, now there is the breakdown of how many people per county. So according to the commission, we have in Nairobi, 3 in Nakuru, 2 in Laikipia, 1 in Narok, 3 in Kajiado, 4 in Uasin Gishu, 2 in Kakamega, 3 in Kisumu, 1 in Kisii, 3 in Mombasa, 1 in each of Siaya, Kiambu, Nandi, Embu and Homa Bay counties, as well as 1 in Nyeri and Bungoma counties. That brings the total to 50. And the commission says the number of the injured in relation to protests countrywide stand at 413. So 413 people have been injured. The commission has urged proper investigations into the killings, and those found culpable, whether civilian or security agents, should be charged. In addition, the commission says it shall also pursue command responsibility for all documented instances of police brutality and excesses, and they call upon President William Ruto to honor his commitment to respecting the rule of law by issuing a zero tolerance tolerance directive on human rights violations to all the deployed security. And when it comes to abductions, arbitrary arrests and torture, the commission says that despite the continued calls for a stop to the abductions, they have noted the kidnappings, illegal arrests and torture of innocent Kenyans continuing, and so far 59 people have been abducted or are missing. The number of those arbitrarily arrested is at 682, and they condemn the abductions and arrests and demand an immediate and unconditional release of the in relation to the protests. And the commission has moved to court for orders of habeas corpus in a quest to seek accountability for missing and abducted persons. Now, when it comes to police investigations, the commission has called upon the Inspector General of Police, or as it is authority, that's IPOA, and the officer of the Director of Public Prosecutions, ODPP, to speed up investigations and prosecution of all persons, including police officers, found culpable of human rights violations of policing the demonstrations. This should be conducted in a transparent and accountable manner by providing regular updates, the commission adds. Now, when it comes to the right to assembly, demonstrations and picketing, KNCHR says with all the anti-finance bill protesters planning to exercise their constitutional rights and continue with demonstrations today, Tuesday 16th July 2024, the commission calls upon the police to accord them security in line with the law. KNCHR urges the protesters to conduct themselves within the confines of the law, while exercising their right under Article 37 of the Constitution. The right comes with the responsibility of exercising it when peaceful and unarmed. Any departure from these minimum standards negates this right. The commission will be closely monitoring compliance of these constitutional and statutory obligations. And further to that, the commission has also given an update on the killings in Kware, whose brief I shall share, and they say that they condole with the families that have lost their loved ones in these heinous killings, and saddened by the news of the burning of the quarry, and hope it shall not be a damper to full, thorough and complete investigations. And apart from that, as they await the postmortem examination results from the forensic teams, the commission has commenced on its independent investigations on the matter and will be issuing a comprehensive statement on the matter once the inquiry is complete. Now, coming a few days after Denzel Omondi's body was found floating in a quarry in Juja, there is need to rule out any possibility of extrajudicial killings, and the commission says it cannot overemphasize the need for one thorough forensic investigation into the deaths to establish the cause and probable time of death. The investigation should be in accordance with the Minnesota Protocol, which aims to protect the right to life by promoting effective investigation of potential unlawful death or suspected enforced disappearance. Further, they also say they cannot overemphasize the need for transparency and accountability in all processes and stages of the investigations, especially during the ongoing post-mortem examination process. or rather the post-mortem process, and any person who suspects that their kin might be among the retrieved to present themselves to the pathologists for DNA tests such as linkages, which will provide valuable insights into the deaths. And it will remain remiss for the commission, it says, not to mention that these happenings remind Kenyans of other bodies retrieved in the past from the rivers Yala and Tana, among others, which cases remain unresolved to date, which then again now goes to speak to the concerns about Kenyans having faith in the systems and in the structures and the institutions that are laid down by law, and this remains a concern. As we continue to monitor the happenings excuse me, in the CBD and different parts of the country, I'm now joined in studio by 3 guests, 2 of whom were here earlier on with my colleague Frida Mwaka, and one who is just here with us for the first time, Prudence Kanana, who's a student leader at Laikipia University. We also have Margaret Njeri, the executive director of Her Dignity, Her Pride, and Habib Omar, who's a youth activist and coordinator of the Kariobangi Social Justice Center. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to studio. And for those who've been here, welcome again. Maybe begin with the newbie, so to speak, on our set today. Prudence, what's your thinking around the protests today? We're not seeing as many people as we saw, especially on the day when there was a breach of parliament, etc. But what's your thinking around it, just to get us off?
Okay, thank you so much, Dan. My thinking on today's protest is that maybe the reason as to why many people have not come out today is maybe because of the brutality that is there outside, because people are coming out for peaceful demonstrations, but as you can see, the police officers are there armed with tear gas, they are there with bullets, trying to practice brutality against peaceful demonstrators. And I think that is one of the main reasons why many people did not come out for the demonstrations.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you guys think about today's protest? Just for example, in Nairobi, we're not seeing as many people as there were on, the other days. Maybe Margaret?
For me, I think it's because in the recent Maandamanos, there has been political infiltration, like other people are paid, like guns are paid to actually distract the protesters. Another thing I feel, the young of the abductions that the government have been doing, they are intimidated to sin. They don't know if the reason why those people are killed, they do not understand the government, or they do not believe the government, what the government is saying about the Mukuru scene. So they feel when I go out there, I will be abducted, maybe killed at a particular point. So I just feel like young people are just intimidated because they're actually talking when it comes to online meetings, Twitter spaces, they're actually talking. But then when it comes to coming outside, that is where they feel that they are threatened. Okay. Their life is threatened.
Okay. Habib, before I come to you, I'll just ask you to hold for a bit so we can cross over to the county of Nakuru, where Bridget Ngana is standing by with another update. Bridget, what's happening at the moment?
So right now, Dan, what's happening is that Kenyatta Avenue has been a no-go zone. I've been hit by a tear gas canister a while back ago, and I had to run into a vehicle. You can see he's cocking the gun right there, just a show of might to the protesters who are gathering on different parts of streets. And this contingent of police has been watching or keeping guard on this Kenyatta Avenue, just trying to avoid any convergence of protesters or even people who are going about their daily business. The border operators who are usually along this street have been sent home, and I think that's a blank bullet that has been logged. Very, very disconcerting, very, very concerning for me, and that kind of shows you the mood here within Kenyatta Avenue, that the police are not allowing anyone to be seen on the streets. The people who had businesses where I'm standing right now have had to close shop. You can see that they are trying to tell that young man, harass him or just interrogating him, and he seems like he's not even armed and he's been walking, but they are treating him as suspect. All the border operators, you can see they are being harassed to leave their area of plying business. These are people, normally you'd find them on this street doing their business, but now they are being told to leave and vacate town. This road is Pandit Nehru Road, and it goes down into downtown Nakuru, and most businesses are also here. And you can see they are charged. The police there are charged. Then that's a blank bullet. A tear gas canister has been lobbed, and that means people have to run for their lives. Hawkers have been rendered jobless at this time, and they will be counting losses. It's a really difficult day for people here. In the morning, there was no indication that this would be the scenario within the streets of Nakuru. People are running everywhere, up in the buildings. Those are people who are seeking shelter, and nobody is really allowed along the streets of Nakuru right now as police take charge. I've seen police on horseback, and that's how they are charging at protesters. It's more of a cat and mouse chase. They are taking them round in circles, or they are going, all of them, the protesters and the police, around in circles, and the degree and amount of tear gas canisters that are being lobbed in this town is really, really high, and a lot, in accordance also with rubber bullets. Excuse me, I almost tripped myself, but we'll be keeping an eye on what is happening right now. This is Pandit patrolled by police.
Thank you very much, Bridget, for that update. Stay safe and be careful even as you give us the updates and, you know, fetch the news for us. And as you can see on your screen, we've got shots of different parts of the country. There's the street in Nakuru. There we have at the center, Kangela, where Ibrahim Karanja is. And on the far right, we have Karatina, which is in the county of Nyeri, where we have Margaret Kimathi there, and we shall later be linking up with her to just get a sense of what exactly is happening as we, beyond what we can see, and just to give context to what we are seeing at the moment in regards to the residents there who seem to be running, and, you know, there seems to be some action between the police and the public or the protesters. And so even as we monitor those feeds, Habib, what we're just picking up on what the feeling is today, because we are not seeing, in some places especially, as many protesters as there were in the previous protest. What's your sense of what this is about?
Okay, Dan. Basically, maybe before I go directly to your question, for the first time in the country, we are witnessing a situation, a very different scenario, a situation where the people are taking the power. The demonstrations are led by the people. That was initially where the people came out, and the demonstration were very peaceful. People were armed with phones, placards and all that. But in between, we have seen a situation where this is something that also I know very well scared the government. They were scared, and even the opposition too, because traditionally it has been the opposition calling out people to the street, but this is now people taking that initiative upon themselves. And I think the strategies, it is in public domain that we have also seen a lot of infiltration in the process, where also politicians, a number of them are being accused of taking part in terms of the infiltration. So partly what is also making Kenyans not to be able to come out is the brutality by police that is being met on them. We have seen people died on the street. We have seen people being abducted. We have seen people getting arrested and all that. But in the process also, there is kind of also the political interference, because for the longest period of time, you see, the politicians have mastered the game of dividing Kenyans along political lines and along ethnic line. Because I can be able to remember the moment DP Gachagua spoke and talking that I'm calling upon my children, my grandchildren, just to be able to listen, take a leave from the demonstration. The other parts of this country that we're not even witnessing the demonstration, like Washinigishu, Eldoret and all that part, which actually in the beginning there's so many people who came out. So we are also seeing a situation where the demonstration, the agitation is for a better Kenya for all, not only for a few, but now also the politicians are trying to be able to narrow it down to be an ethnic struggle. And also at the same time, we are also seeing a situation where there is aspect of divide and rule. Because the reality is, the peaceful protesters, until that time that we witnessed goons, people who have been hired with the aim just to be able to destroy, properties, cause mayhem within the society, because that is not what is outlined in Article 37 of the Constitution. So the essence of it, it has created a divide and rule, because initially the business people are the people who are supporting, giving water, food, even to peaceful demonstrators. But unlike now, this is not the kind of the situation. It is themselves now standing with Lungus to be able to want to protect their businesses. Yet we know very well that is the role of the police, and they need to play that role actively. So it is just in terms of summarizing, to me, I think it is a strategy by the government to quell down that momentum and scare people from coming out to be able to demonstrate, because we have seen a situation where people who have been vocal coming out being targeted, some of them being abducted or being picked from their houses, and then all of a sudden you hear someone has disappeared. And I've seen you giving us the statistics of the number of people who are yet to be their whereabouts are yet to be determined. We don't know where they are, and the last scene was either within the parliament, or they were within the CBD, or they are taking part in a peaceful demonstration, exercising their democratic right. So it is about fear and trying to be able to manage the situation.
Okay, and I mean, it's interesting how things have played out from the time when we had the initial protests to date. And something that, Habib has also mentioned is that the president has actually responded. He's actually responded. The two significant ones are in terms of the rejection of the finance bill, and the other one being the dissolution of cabinet. As a young person, do you feel that, do you feel content by the things that the president has done?
Okay, as a young person, I'd really not say I'm contented by what the president has done, because dismissing the cabinet secretaries, I think that was not enough. But they were responsible for answering, because whatever happened during the demonstrations, it happened while they were in offices. So I feel it was their responsibility to give answers to Kenyans about the people who were killed in Githurai, about the people who were abducted while demonstrating peacefully. I think the people who are supposed to answer those questions before being dismissed from by the president as the cabinet secretaries, they had so many questions to answer. Dismissing them was not enough, because that was not a solution.
That's one of the things that, the protest dissolved. But he did that.
Yes, he dissolved the cabinet, which I'm not against. But then my point is, before the cabinet was dissolved, the cabinet was still answerable to things that happened. Because by innocent people being killed, or by young Kenyans being killed, that was not the solution. Dissolving the cabinet was not the only solution. But being answerable to the citizens, being answerable to Kenyans, that was the whole thing. Then they be dissolved after we have those answers, and that would be an assurance that the next people who would come in those seats would actually work for Kenyans.
Okay, so at least fortunately they're still in Kenya, ideally, so we believe, so they can still be held to account either way. I think that's a very good point. Margaret, for you, when you listen to what the president has done, does it give you some sense of, okay, we are on the right track?
Yes, we are, as young people. As young people, we are on the right track. But then the government, I feel like the president has been, there is a need to push him, for him to be accountable to his people who voted for him. For example, like me, I went very early and I voted for him. And I was 20 years old, and I went there because I saw the future. I saw him as a promising person. But then, looking at even his cabinet, for example, the one that he has already dissolved, before they actually entered into that office, the parliament had asked so many questions about some of the cabinet secretaries, but then he still chose. He still chose to place them in office. So basically for me, I feel like accountability is very, very important, especially for people like IG Kome. He is not supposed to just go away. He's supposed to pay each and everything that he has done. For example, he's supposed to be called, in the cases of Mukuru, in the cases of, for example, cases of Denzel, he's supposed to be asked, where were you when these things were being done? What did you do? You see, these abductions, the government is acting like we are the ones who are abducting ourselves, you know, and they are the ones who actually, they know the people who are doing that. Why can't they do something about it? Why can't the government, the president, call each and everyone out who was responsible of anything that happens to any single Gen Z? For example, like Farah Maalim, he was supposed to, that person is not even supposed to be anywhere any close to people. He's supposed to be in jail right now because he can't say he can kill people. That is a threat, honestly. That is a threat, and it is a threat towards Gen Zs and a threat towards the future of this nation because they are young people. So basically, for me, I feel the president, as much as he is doing so much talking, promising and everything, we need to see concrete solutions. Without him, it is enough for him. Right now he has talked enough. We don't want him to talk anymore. We want him to act and allow us to see the power that people actually give to him.
Okay. Habib, just, I mean, there's a point that they're both raised, which is very important, that while these guys have been kicked out of office, be it the CSAs or the Inspector General of Police, that shouldn't be enough.
That is not enough. I'm not contented. Bado mapambano. The struggle still continue because one, history doesn't lie. Done. It is not my mistake. It is not the mistake of Kenyans not to trust the president because he has proven to us that it is someone that we cannot be able to trust his word because he says this and does the different. Just to give you an example, the president said that we must adhere to the rule of law. Look at what is happening. Does this constitution, it speaks about the right to demonstrate as enshrined in Article 37 of the constitution. Why are we seeing a situation where people are being shot, people are being tear gassed? I'm just receiving an information here that one of the comrade Boniface Akach, who was actually feared being shot by police, but unfortunately it's turning out that he was hit at a close range by a tear gas canister, being hospitalized. So these are the situations that we still do not want to see. We are talking about a situation where today the anger is about demanding justice. People were killed. You have given us a statistic of around 50 Kenyans who died through anti-finance bill protest. What was their biggest crime? Did it have for people to die before the government could be able to recede their decision and make decision? Did we have to reach at that point? You see, and the other thing is that the reason why we are so hesitant and a bit not willing to be able to trust the president is because we don't know next year. The cabinet secretaries, there was dissolving of cabinet and all that, but what next? Who are the people who are going again to be appointed by the president? We have seen you still left Mudavadi, who is holding unconstitutional office. We are talking about the rule of law. Which rule of law? That is unconstitutional office. That person has to go. Those are some of the demands. And whatever we are, how does it take to be able to hold a police officers who shot young people on the street accountable? We need accountability. We need to be able to see. We are talking about edible oil. We are talking about fake fertilizer. We want to see people arrested. You see, even under his administration, we have seen a case of the KEMSA scandal too. Yeah, so these are the issues that we are talking about because we don't have to dialogue for you to be able to now, Dan, let us have a dialogue and see how we'll be able to stop stealing from the public, how we'll be able to accountable to the people. And then, but we see Kiburi is still there. So he says this because right now, there is the levy, maintenance levy 18 to 25. Yes. We have seen conflict of interest. I mean, the proposed conflict of interest bill 2023. So there is so much. On the other hand, you're saying this. On the other hand, you're doing something that is different and making us as Kenyans to be able to even trust the president. You have seen people being abducted. Jana ilikuwa Westgate, today we have just seen someone narrowly escape from being abducted on a day, on a broad daylight. So these are the things that we are asking actually. Which rule of law are you talking about?
Okay.
So these are some of the things that actually make us to continue pushing more, because these people, it can be a strategy just to be able to contain Kenyans the way now you're seeing also with the protest, people fear coming out and all that. And then we go back to the status quo, the way things used to be. And then it becomes now a target. Because why are you targeting someone for coming out?
So actually on that point, so when do we stop? When does it stop? That's, I think, one of the questions that, you know, needs some sort of an answer, because we are seeing, so after today we'll probably see a call for another set of demos, maybe on Tuesday again or on Thursday, whichever day.
Yeah.
At what point does it stop? Because, I mean, no one is taking away from anybody that, you know, there's a fight for a better Kenya. But we're, however, seeing the disruption that it has. So one of the questions that's coming is, when does this stop?
So Dan, one I want to ask you, are you sure that we are outside the hook of bad leadership and bad cabinet secretaries? Are you still sure of that? Because we don't know what next will happen. Are we out of the hook of the finance bill? Because there's a lot of legal crises around it that still surround that finance bill, you see. So these are some of the questions that we are asking. We want to see today, I want to be told that the police officers who are responsible for the death of around 50 Kenyans, and the number is still rising, are being held accountable. What does it take to be able just to kusimamisha mtu kazi, so that we can be able to see action? We want to see these cases immediately. You develop an inquiry. Can we be able to start having things? We don't want to have so much talks. Action. The things that doesn't take us so much, because I'm still wondering why it was very hard for the Speaker, the National Assembly Speaker, Wetangula, to be able to call Parliament. But when now then with the deploying KDF, it was just it was hurriedly made. So these are some of the questions that we are also asking ourselves. Are there goodwill? Are these people really honest? We want the president to be honest.
Okay.
Let's have a honest conversation. Yeah.
Okay.
Sasa unakuja kwa table lakini hapa chini umeniwekea kisu and all that. So these are some of the things that still lingers in our head, and it is very difficult to be able to trust.
Okay, and I mean, I'll encourage that even as you have the conversation, if you feel you've got a point that you also want to raise on the same question, you'll just alert me so that it's a full conversation. It is not an interrogation. It's easy at DCM, siogope. So even as we come to pick up on some of the issues that have been raised, like yesterday, the president saying that the protests have been sponsored by Ford Foundation, and what your thoughts are on that. Let's cross over to the county of Uasin Gishu, specifically in Eldoret, where we have Lois Wangoi standing by for us with an update from there. Lois, the home county of the president in Eldoret, what's happening?
Good afternoon, Dan Mangi. Indeed, we come to you live from Eldoret, the heart of Uasin Gishu County, and largely the heart of the North Rift. As you can see behind me and around me are pictures of calm and quiet, and this is pretty much the sights and the sounds that we have witnessed from morning till now in the Mangi, on a day where protesters who have been expressing some concerns with the current administration and the ways in which a number of matters are being handled in the country have been organizing nationwide protests. On this day, we did not witness any demonstrations here in the county of Eldoret, and as you can see, this is one of the busiest streets. Where we are is called Paradise, and we are able to just give you a glimpse of one of the busiest town places here in the county of Uasin Gishu. So here we see the border operators just going about their business. There's in the food industry. The hotels are open. We have a number of, we have other stores, we have chemists. Morning up to now have been up and around. When you look at our roads, the roads are also quite busy. We are seeing Kenyans just going about their daily opportunities of trying to fend for themselves in their quest of building the nation. So largely calm and quiet pictures and sounds coming to you from Eldoret in the county of Wasingishu. And this is pretty much the kind of pictures and sights you're able to achieve when you go to the neighboring Elgeyo-Marakwet County. At Iten, we understand it was all calm and quiet. We moved to the neighboring county of Nandi. It was largely also calm and quiet. We didn't see much of activity also in the county of Trans Nzoia and all the way to West Pokot and Turkana. And this is pretty much reflective of what is happening here in the capital, that is Eldoret town. Then mind you, remember, Eldoret is quite significant, or Wasingishu is quite significant politically so. It is the home county of President William Ruto, and he enjoys quite a huge number of political support. If the numbers he gathered here in the last general election of the year 2022 is anything to go by. When these demonstrations began, the German viewers, a few weeks ago, we did see Eldoret coming in heavy with their numbers, also joining in the protests. And the people who are demonstrating from this side of the country, the Gen Z group, were very adamant of the finance bill for the year 2024, and we did see President William Ruto just keeping it aside. And I want to believe perhaps this formed or informed the next steps that the demonstrators from the county of Wasingishu and its environs would take. From the day the president said that, the finance bill of 2024, we have seen the protests somewhat go down almost to zero, almost to 99%. There has been a lot of calm and quiet here in the county of Wasingishu. However, the security team in the North-Rift region have also been very, very vigilant. We have seen the number of the police officers increasing by the day. Every time we have Maandamano Tuesday or Maandamano Thursday. The pictures we gave you earlier, the one you don't believe the viewers were able to see, were a number of police infrastructure and the security team just walking around and driving through the streets of Eldoret, perhaps to detail their presence, but also to stay put ahead of the protests if there are to be. Now, interestingly, Danwangi, on this day we were able to witness only one lone protester, a young man who is about 20 years old, a Gen Z. He was arrested when we were live on TV, or NTV, and we tried to follow his situation. Now, the police officers who arrested the young man claimed he was disrupting peace, but the young man tried to argue his case with the policemen, showing them that he had a flag, his phone, a flag, his phone, and that really thing for making some noise. But the policemen were a bit adamant, and they said, I remember asking them, why are you arresting him? He seems to be a peaceful protester. And they said they're not certain of it, wanataka kwenda kuchunguza. So the young man was later bundled in a police vehicle, where we were able to exchange numbers with him. We tried reaching him a number of times throughout the day. Until now, he has not been able to talk to us. The latest we caught up with him was around noon, where he told us he was still in the police vehicles, just being taken round Eldoret town. Just before that, the young man told us one of the policemen accused him akitaka kubadilisha serikali. I will leave you that clip then, and we'll come back to you with more details from the county of Wasingishu.
Nakutetea hata wewe.
Jinsi mwenyewe
Hai.
Badilisha.
Tuambie jina lako na imekuaje?
Naitwa Kitanjogu. Mimi nimeshikwa tu pale, nilikuwa nimeunua bendera yangu na firimbi yangu nikashikwa. Wameniambia huyo kwanza ameniambia nabadilisha serikali. Aje sasa. Natetea nchi yangu. Sina maneno mengi.
Acha umesema makosa yako ni yapi?
Wajaniambia mpaka sasa hivi. Kununua bendera na na kupuliza kipenge yangu na simu yangu wamenishika.
Wakakwambiaje?
Hakuna kitu wamenyambia mpaka sasa hivi. Wanyambia niingie hapa hivi, kuna maswali fulani waniulize, sijui kama wataniachilia. Ndo nangoja.
Leo unasikia kauti anasema watoto wake walikuwa wanapiga simu kwa shule. Wanapeleka sisi.
That is Peter Nzomo, 20-year-old resident of Eldoret, and he's speaking to Lois Wangoi, who was giving us an update just a bit ago, and she shall later on in the course of our broadcast give us yet another update, as this is an evolving case. But Eldoret, as she says, is largely peaceful and there's nothing much that's happening. If there's anything close to what happened a few weeks ago. And on your screens we have different locations. We have Eldoret, we have Nairobi, and on the far right we have, I believe it's Karatina. I stand corrected, but I'll confirm it. Yes, that's Karatina in the county of Nyeri, and in the middle is Nairobi, and to our far left is Eldoret, where Lois Wangoi is, as well as the team there. And even as we monitor this, coming back to our conversation here in studio, Prudence, yes. The president said that Nyinyi Gen Zs, your protests are being funded by Ford Foundation. Have you received any kind of communication? Ama M-Pesa imetingishwa?
I haven't. Actually nateseka. Sina pesa. Ningependa nipate.
So what's your feeling when the president says that though?
That is bad leadership. That is what I define that statement as, because there is no way you would say the Gen Z, or rather the people demonstrating, have been funded, yet there is no evidence to that. Secondly, there is a reason why these people have decided to come out and demonstrate. It's because they feel the impact of the economic crisis that is now in our country. That's the reason why someone has still gone out to demonstrate, whereas they have seen that some few weeks ago there are people who died in those demonstrations. We've buried several youths who are demonstrating, for example Akina Rex Masai, and those are people who came out to demonstrate because of the current situation of the country. But you see the Gen Z still have the guts to go out and demonstrate, which means they are very much unsatisfied, which means these are educated people, these are degree holders, diploma holders who have no jobs, who have not gotten that job opportunity, people who are still struggling there out, people who feel that the economy is actually not friendly unto them. That's why they have gone out to demonstrate. So by saying they have been funded, I think they would use the funds maybe to start a business or do something good than demonstrating and taking tear gas and risking your life. Because by going out for demonstrations, you are sure you'll either come back or be killed or be abducted. Anything can happen to you. So why would you go and risk whereas you have money? And we are actually demonstrating because of the economic crisis. We are demonstrating because the economy is too harsh for the young people. So why would you go out to demonstrate if you have money? I think that is an example of bad leadership that I personally didn't expect when we were voting for a president. Yeah.
So let me come to Margaret. Just on the same thread of conversation, when the president says that, so some of the things that are being argued from those who are standing with the government, with the government side of it, are arguing that there are few people who have been paid to then push this agenda. Then you, as the young people, the Gen Zs or the millennials or anyone who's supporting, are getting, should I say, high on that paid for agenda. So it means that you may not realize that you're actually being used. That is what is being argued.
Okay, but then I think the government is a little bit ignorant, because for me, from the time I was 19, I used to go to trainings about my political rights, about I love my country from when I was way younger. So I used to be told that it is your political right to go and ask for government, to vote, one, that's the reason why I voted when I was 20, two, to practice your political right and constitutional right. So for me, even when I went there, I went because I had something to advocate for. I had something that was pressuring me. Me as Margaret Njeri, I have an initiative, right? I have seen many girls not going to school, not going back to school because they do not have money to go back to school. I've seen their parents coming to me telling me, Maggie, if you get something, please plug us because we need this money. I've seen my grandmother struggling each and every day because of the economic crisis in the country. I have seen so many girls not going to school because of sanitary pads. I've seen so many teenage mothers not going, being forced to choose between school and taking care of their children because they cannot even afford diapers to actually leave their children to maybe family members, maybe anything else. So for me, when I was agitating for my rights, I was going there because I was funded by the disappointment of this country. I was funded by being disappointed by the president each and every day. I was funded by seeing several injustices to my peers. I was funded to seeing so many students not going to school or delaying their exams because of lateness of help to the universities. I was funded by the crisis that is in the country. And honestly, the government, okay, maybe he may say that it is funded by Ford, right? He may say that. But then for me, and so many young people, I believe they are not funded. I believe it's because of their heart and where it pinch harder, or they actually feel the pain and the pinch of this crisis. And honestly, President should not and should stop putting blame to other people, because he was the only person, he was the one who was going in the campaign trail telling us, giving us so much hopes. And honestly, let me tell you, Dan, even if you're actually trying to date a girl and you give her maybe so much expectations, of course they will be disappointed when you're not delivering, and they will be so mad at you. So basically, he shouldn't cover that up. He should do what he's supposed to do as a president. Stop talking. You know, in the Twitter space, I've remembered, in the Twitter space, I logged in, and I saw him he started justifying himself on what he has done, what he will do, and I tweeted and I said, tell the president to listen to us. This is not the time to justify himself. Let him stop justifying himself. We have had enough. We want actions, and he shouldn't put blames to any other person. And I was blocked, by the way, in that Twitter space. You were rejected. Yeah, I was rejected. So basically what I'm saying is the president should actually look at the root cause. Yes, okay, he's saying we are being funded, right? But then if I have that time, I used to see people saying, leo kona fair, kwenda tao, people would give you that 100 bob, because young people are there to support each other. They want to see change in this country. So basically, we are funding ourselves. And if it was that Ford Foundation, I saw them putting so many millions there and saying that I wish I had that money, because I wouldn't have come here, honestly, because if I was funded, I wouldn't be feeling that pinch. Okay. You know.
Habib.
Which camera do I look to? I want this message to go directly to the president and inform him who actually is funding us. Yes. So
I can see that on the screen right now we have scenes of what's happening in Karatina, but we can hear you. See, look in this screen. If they're able to take a split screen, they'll be able to pick it from that camera, because I mean, you're quite passionate. We're still trying to make sure that we are balancing with the actual protests. I mean, the protests happening on the ground. That's Karatina, the county of Nyeri. So I believe we'll counter check on, excuse me, whether we can have the split screen, so that we can, Habib can make his point. He says he wants
I want to inform him and inform other Kenyans who are actually wondering who actually is funding these demonstrations. And dear Mr. President, I just want to inform you.
Sorry, I think we just did get a split of Habib speaking. We could still have the action ongoing. Yeah, he wants to speak to the president through NTV.
Yes.
So I think yes, now we are good to go. You are there.
Yes, definitely. I want to speak to Mr. President, dear President. Do not look other or blame anyone who is funding the ongoing demonstration. The person actually who is funding the ongoing protest is you yourself. It is the so many lies that you told Kenyans. It is the so many unbroken promises that Kenyans were given. These demonstrations are being funded by failed leadership, corrupt leaders who do not listen to Kenyans, but continue looting and vomiting on us. These demonstrations are being funded by inhuman forceful eviction and demolition of houses in Nakuru, in Kariobangi, in Madare, in Kayole. These demonstrations are being funded by the brutality, the injustices that are being met on young people of this country. If you are not aware, it is a crime to be a young person in this country, because just by being a young person, chances of you being killed by police are high. We faced this today. I think Kenyans are wondering. We have seen situations. There's so many cases of enforced disappearance. There's so many cases of police brutality and killings. On each and every day, we handle cases of police abuse of power. So the reality is, Kenyans are angry, and the finance bill was just a trigger. The real issues, we have a lot of underlying issues, because, to be sincere, if I can remember, if my memory serves me well, the president started promising us when he was still the deputy president in 2012. We will create more job opportunities for young people. We will build stadiums. You see all those things. We will change the lives of the people. And again, after 10 years, now he is the president, he went along and said how will be able to create job opportunities for young people. Maisha ya mama mboga, mtu ya bodaboda ataweza kubadilisha maisha yake, kuinua maisha yake kutoka chini. You see, bottom up approach. And the reality is, that is not the reality of what we are facing actually right now. We are living in a country where you cannot be able to speak. It is a crime to stand for what is right. It is a crime to agitate and advocate for your right. So today the criminals are being protected by the police. People who are denying us our future as young people are being protected by the police. But a patriotic and active citizen coming out of the street is being killed, is being abducted, is being tear gassed, is being brutalized. And then you still wonder who is financing these people. It is the brutality, it is the injustice. We want to live a dignified life as Kenyans. We are not second citizens in our own country. We are not slaves. And it is not like we are fools. We are not our parents. We are not our parents. You cannot lie to us. And it is our parents that you can be able to hoodwink. Year in, year out, ukuje mdanganye na leso. I'm not my mother. My mother took me to school. I'm educated, I'm informed. I've been on the street for the last 6 years. Just to let you know, we have been taking part in the Sabasaba demonstrations. We have been taking part in protesting. I can remember the last, to 2022 as we are heading to election, we were out on the street. And even the president, I can remember that tweet, applauding that young people, Mama Mboga, mtu ya boda boda, hustler is out on the street. By then, they had bad relationship with the president, Uhuru Kenyatta. What has again turned? He was the same person who, when he was taking oath, he promised to uphold, respect the rule of law. So where is the rule of law? Is it a crime? Let me just ask you, is it a crime to be able to protest? Is it a crime to advocate for social justice? What does Article 43 of our Constitution speaks about? What does the Bill of Rights in Chapter 4 of the Constitution speaks about? We want to entrench democracy. We want to entrench good governance. We want to live as Kenyans. We want to see our taxes working for us. We do not have a problem paying taxes. But we have a problem where we pay taxes, and these taxes end up in the pockets of a few people. You borrow money for that you cannot even be able to tell where was that money directed to. Look at Kibaki. You can be able to tell. We have Thika, superhighway, that actually you can be able to tell this is the money that was borrowed, this is the intended project that was actually utilized with that. But here we have a situation where money is being stalled. It is under this leadership that we saw so many cases of corruption just going down underwater. So he is the same person who promised that at the end of the day, issues of corruption will be a history under his leadership. The same person who told us that under his administration, no Kenyan will be able to face again forceful eviction and demolition of houses. But today, people are sleeping in makeshift. People are still struggling. Nobody is talking about the floods. Nobody is talking about people whose houses were demolished. Kenyans were promised 10,000. The real victims, the real people whose houses were demolished, never got that money. It is only a few people who are either connected to chief and all that. So these are things, some of the things that you could be. In the first day of the demonstration, you saw old women coming out to the street. You have seen a situation where children as young as 10 years, as 14 years, who is finding someone as 14 years or maybe 10 years coming to the street? Even today, the other day I was in Machakos talking to school children. We are doing agroecology with them, and they are alive of what actually is happening. If you ask them why are Gen Z demonstrating, and even they do not even want to call themselves Gen Z Alpha, they want to associate with Gen Z because they feel whatever is happening is right.
Okay, I want to bring in a bit of a different angle for us guys to discuss. We have all these young guys, these young people who are agitating for what they say is a better Kenya, right? Saying that we need change of policies, change of leadership, change of approach, etc. Then we have young people who are in positions of leadership. We have MPs who are youth. We have MCAs, we even have governors, we have senators who are youth. But the youth themselves have come and said, we want things done a different way. Do you feel that the young leaders, young political leaders, have let down their generation?
Okay, I'd say the young political leaders, by mentioning one, if not an offense, Babu Owino, he is there in that in the leadership space, but I'd say he has not failed us. I actually hear him championing so much for the peaceful demonstrations. He has never been against that. And to point on, for the people who voted yes on for the finance bill before it was rejected, I really want to believe all those people who voted that were 40 years and above, I really want to believe those are not youths. So it shows these are people who have already invested, who are already well off, so they just don't feel any impact about the economic crisis. I tend to believe even if there might be some youths who might be there in the leadership spaces, as we want to put the youth into the leadership spaces, because I believe the Gen Z, we carry the numbers at the end of the day.
But my question is that we already have people who are young, and they are meant to be standing for the interests of young people. Actually, some of the people who are nominated, they're nominated to represent a certain demographic. Yeah. So there are some who are there to represent youth, some are there to represent persons with disability. So you already have your youth representatives. But you're seeming not to be content. So the question is, are we feeling that these young leaders are failing to meet the expectations?
Can I maybe come in at that point?
Let her finish, then we can come round. Okay. You're very passionate. I can see in my head that you have to go ready.
What I may say, for the youth representatives who are there, some of them are actually doing what we want and are actually doing what is right. And for those who are there not doing what is right, I think that they should know that their time is running out because we need competent leaders in those seats. But for now, for the young people that I know in those leadership spaces, they are actually articulating for what we want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, for me, I have a very different opinion. Some people, some leaders, like for example the MP, there is another MP in Embu called Gitonga Mukonji. He's very, very passionate, and he really listened to people, and he voted no. But then we have other MPs who are young. For example, in Kenya, not for example, in Kenya, who actually at that particular time, even if they voted no, they didn't mean because of the political affiliation. Because for me, I feel like the whole generation that is in the government, there are few people who are actually competent. But then I feel like the opposition and the people who are in government usually work together so that they can, some can vote yes, some can vote yes, so that you can see, oh, there are people who are actually talking for us. Some can vote no in certain bills, so that we can see that, by the way, this opposition is always with us. Honestly, for me, I believe it's time for new leaders. It is time for scrutiny of those leaders. If we have young leaders like, for example, Gitonga Mukonji, he has to know that the people who he is leading want accountability at any given point. For me, it's not even about age. For me, it's about accountability. It is not, for me, I can now never say, you know, we need women leadership here and here. If they are not accountable, or they are not responsible, or they are not listening to us as citizens, they are not helping us. For me, I feel like it's all about competent leaders. If you are not competent, even if you are young, you are not supposed to be there. Even if you have age and gender, it's not any factor. It's not any factor for you to be considered in any electoral seat. It is all about competence. It's all about listening to your people, and it's all about delivering. For me, that is all.
So do you feel that you're represented?
Yes.
Do you feel that you're represented?
No, I don't feel. Even, for example, even Babovino, I feel like the way you have said, honestly, as much as he tries so much to associate with young people, because he has been with young people for the longest, I feel sometimes he fails us when it comes to opposition and the decision he takes. Because honestly, you can't say that he has never participated in any decision that has made us go to this direction. Okay. Every leader who is in the government, either in opposition, either in government, they have failed us, and they have failed us terribly.
Okay. Habib?
Very unfortunate. I feel not represented by the current crop of leaders, young leaders who are either be it in county assembly or be it at the national government. Kind of blame it on the system that has been able to, the systematic nature, be it of our politics or anything, that continue to undermine the voice of the minority. Because today, if you are a young person, I'm sorry to say this, you'll find Babu cannot go contrary to what Raila Amolo Odinga says. Sylvester Soros cannot go contrary. In fact, yata sasa amekuwa mbaya kabisa. And he's a young person, you see. Back in when you look at the last parliament, I used to admire, there was a crop of leaders, the late Ken Okoth, Sakaja before he became the governor. We still miss the Sakaja, the senator, Mtola Kilonzo. These were very promising and vibrant leaders who would be able to speak truth to power, and leaders of reason. But today we have a crop of young people who are just serving either the interest of their political fathers. And that is where we get it actually wrong. Because when you look at the nature, what informs our choice of leaders? You see, Sankara once said, a soldier without ideology is a potential criminal. But we have potential criminals in government. Because what do you stand for? Today in this table we are all young. So what makes me stand out as a young person? Does it mean that if I'm young, that qualifies me or make me a good leader? Beyond competency, we also need to be able to interrogate and look at the character of an individual. What are those things that you stand for and you believe in as a young person or as a leader? So it trickles down and boils down to our values and principles as a country, because today the more corrupt you are, the more high chances of you getting elected. Because we are, and that is even the question that we need to be able to ask ourselves as young people. Even as we continue pushing for this agenda of having good governance and getting the right leaders who are there to serve, can we also be able to ask ourselves, we are the same people who put these rogue leaders into position of power. I can remember I vied in 2022, but I was denied an opportunity not because I was not capable, not because the people I wanted to serve did not know me, but because I did not have money, because I did not belong to a certain political party, because I did not belong to a certain tribe. So we must change our political way. And even at the center of these political parties, I always say that we do not have political parties, we have ethnic grouping, because at the center of the political party must be the people. Today, how will you be able to call yourself saying that you are a member of UTA? What qualifies you if your voice, I'm giving that as an example, if your voice doesn't count? Because we have been seeing a situation where party primaries, it is the highest bidder who get it. It is not what the leader today will be able to elect and Margaret Njeri as the person we want during party nomination. But at the end of the day, she gets shortchanged. It doesn't reflect the will of the people. So it is a total whole. Even this call for where young people are calling for Ruto must go anguka nayo, it doesn't only stick at the national level. We are up to the county level, because devolution came as a blessing to be able to trickle down services to common Mwananchi. So if I'm still talking about access to water, to getting water twice a week, twice, yet in the constitution I have a right to access clean and adequate water. If I want 100,000 liters, I need to be able to access, because the constitution guarantees me that right. But we still do not have water. Nairobi, we still have a problem of waste in the city. And you see that even the waste management itself is being managed by cartels. You see, the other day I had Sakaja crying. The same members of parliament we are talking about are the same people who get tenders. It is their companies who are being allowed to get these tenders, and they cannot get the job done. Why do we leave something as waste management or environmental conservation to private entities, yet we have a government in place? So these are some of the things that we also need to question when we are talking about public participation, because Kenyans feel like they're not included in decision-making process. When we go about public participation has now turned to be a ticker box, where you just say Fulani and Fulani participated. But the real issues that people are articulating and want done are not actually done. You see, even I can be able to tell you the Finance Bill 2023, Nairobi County, for us as Nairobians, we never wanted that bill to pass. But at the end of the day, our representative, what did they do? Today, even the MCs, the current Nairobi MCs cannot be able to hold the governor accountable. So the essence is this thing has to trickle down to this accountability. Hii anguka nayo. Lazima tuanguke, atuanguki pia na president peke yake. Lazima tuanguke na MCA, lazima tuanguke na chief, lazima tuanguke na OCS. Everybody must be held accountable. And also us, this accountability, it doesn't end with other people. We must also be able to be accountable, play our active role.
Okay.
If it is about electing leaders, which kind of leaders are we electing? Or do we elect a person and then later on, anguka nayo tunaanza kulia?
All right, and I'll be coming back to that in a bit, because it's important when you think about what is our place. What is the place of the public? Because we speak a lot about the people in positions of leadership. Because if there's a bribe being given to a government official, it was not by another government official, it was by Raya. You know, so we'll be getting to that. But for now, I want us to cross over to the county of Migori in Rongo, where we have Bernard Ojwang on call. Bernard, good afternoon. Earlier on, there was quite some drama in Rongo. What's the current situation?
Well, thank you very much, Dan. As you said, we are currently in Rongo town. The business operations along the Migori highway have been really paralyzed. In Migori town in the morning, the youth who started their demonstrations as early as 5 a.m. in the morning. They blocked the main highway going and connecting near Kisumu to Hatari. Of course, they were
Okay, we shall be getting back to Ojwang, who is in Rongo, but these are shots from Homa Bay, where there was quite some activity earlier on with protesters even lighting, as they are being called, bonfires, lighting, tires on the roads and blocking the roads, just causing disruption to normalcy as they protest. And what we've seen in some areas is that the protests are not only just about the national government. There are some counties where we are seeing people protesting against their governors, such as the county of Kericho. We saw that they said that they are holding protests against their governors because they want them to be held accountable. In some places we have seen different people being injured. One of them now is that Media Max journalist Catherine Wanjeri Kariuki has been shot by police in Nakuru while covering the anti-government protests, and we shall be giving you the details on that. I believe that Bridget Ngana should be in a position to give us an update when she's able to. This is a really unfortunate situation. Aside from that, we've seen a lot of activity in Karatina, for instance, and aside from that, we have seen different protesters. And some of the things that have come out of Karatina, for instance, which was on the screen earlier on, is that hundreds of demonstrators pretty much take over Karatina town after being overwhelming the police, who have retreated. The rowdy demonstrators have barricaded the busy Karatina Nairobi highway, effectively paralyzing transport on this important road. No police presence, even as a section of the demonstrators attempted to enter the local branch of Equity Bank before security guards hurriedly closed the premises. And so that is yet another concern around potential looting when it comes to Karatina and when it comes to these protests. And aside from that, I'm just looking at other updates from different parts of the country. Transport paralyzed in Embu town as anti-government protesters stormed 3 bus stages and chased matatu operators. Business also halted in the town due to protests. That is in Embu town. Some other parts of the country, as we had said, have not experienced protests. For instance, Busia and Vihiga, we have has not had protests today. Aside from that, we have seen from earlier on, Judith Cherono Omondi gave us an update. It is now calm. Earlier on, there was some running battles, but now the rubber bullets are what some of the residents were using to play marbles, or bano, if you like. Aside from that, there have been different things. Like I mentioned, in Embu there was drama and business premises closed because of the disruptions. And then also in Turkana, we've seen people who've been injured, such as one young man whose name is Kevin Amoni Egole, who was among those assembling at Roberts Junction in Lodwar to kick off peaceful protests against the governor Jeremiah Lomorukai's office to deliver a petition, and they were assaulted by armed youth. That is according to the details we have from our correspondents on the ground. Besides that, we also have updates from different parts of the country. While we said that there was peace in Kisumu largely in the afternoon, earlier on there's a popular human rights activist in Kisumu called Boniface Akach, who was rushed to hospital after police shot a tear gas canister at his chest at close range. Is that the one you're talking about earlier? Yes. So that's another report that we're getting in regards to the protest in different parts of the country. In some places we have people who are just staging sitting. Some places we are seeing people who are just sitting either on boulders or otherwise. We have for instance, in Karatina, where we are saying that police seem to have been overwhelmed. Some of the demonstrators are now sitting on those boulders as they just enjoy their time of protest, which has gotten a bit ugly in as far as this is concerned. And we shall be picking up some update by Bridget Ngana on the Media Max journalist who has been shot. She has been shot in the leg. This is Catherine Wanjeri. She's a journalist at Media Max, and the report is that from Bridget Ngana is that there are 3 exit holes in her leg. This is a journalist who was covering the protest in the county of Nakuru. She has been shot in the leg, and there are 3 exit holes. That is according to a post on X by Bridget Ngana, who we shall be getting through to in a bit. And what you have on your screen as well is are scenes of what was happening in Nanyuki. That is earlier on, earlier in the day, we had this kind of activity in Nanyuki, and Nanyuki has been having a bit more attention in regards to this protest, because we have seen an individual who has been saying that he has been, a subject to police attraction and even some sort of harassment. The gentleman on your screen who has some fairly long hair and some spectacles, he is one of the people who have been complaining about treatment by the police, and he has been one of those who has been agitating openly and loudly against rather for these protests, saying that they need to happen. And aside from that, we do have a lot more activity happening across the country, and we shall be looking to give you updates on the same. And so this becomes a serious point of concern when it comes to the safety of peaceful protesters, and aside from the peaceful protesters, also for journalists who are covering this, because we have, like I have said, and we shall be getting more details, there is a journalist from Media Max, which is the mother company of K24 as well as the People newspaper, and they are there is a reporter there, a journalist there, I should say, called Catherine Wanjeri Kariuki, who has been shot while covering the anti-government protests, and we shall be getting details on the same, and we shall be sharing this, and we shall be waiting to get a statement from the Media Council of Kenya, and hopefully we shall get a statement by the National Police Service, not only on this incident, but on all the incidents that have been at play, because one of the things that had happened in the past few weeks when we have been having the protests is that we've been having some radio silence from the then Inspector General of Police, that's Japhet Koome, in regards to the different incidents of police brutality. But we wait to see whether Mr. Kanja, who is the acting Inspector General of Police, is going to give an update and a statement or press briefing on the incidents of the day. We've been seeing calls for the Nairobi County Commander to be relieved of his duties as well. That's Bungei, and we wait to see whether any of this is going to bear fruit, because that's one of the things that the protesters, especially those in Nairobi, have been calling for, because there has been significant activity and I should say attacks by police on protesters, even the peaceful especially the peaceful protesters. And just from the details, from the statistics that have been shared by the Kenyan National Commission on Human Rights, when we talk about the number of people who have died, the largest out of the anti-government protests, which are from the anti-finance bill protests, the total number that has been given is 50, and they are saying that of these, 21 are in Nairobi. That's nearly half of those who have unfortunately been reported as having died are from Nairobi, while the other counties with fairly high numbers, and the fairly high numbers here is much less than Nairobi's. We have Nakuru, Kajiado, Kisumu, Mombasa, each recording 3 people having died. The other counties where we have people who have died are like Laikipia, Kakamega, each having 2 people recorded as having died. Oh, sorry, there's Uasin Gishu with 4 people having reported and reported as having died. Then many other counties have 1 person each, and this does not include any that may have happened, say, this afternoon, if any, or this morning into afternoon. And so these counties with 1 person each are Narok, Kisii, Siaya, Kiambu, Nandi, Embu, Homa Bay, Nyeri, and Bungoma. And so we shall be looking to see what the police have to say about this. That is the acting IG, that is Mr. Kangela, will give a statement on the same, or whether he will be doing what has been seen with his predecessor, or his former boss, that Japhet Kome, who was not giving much update, especially amid uproar. And so the communication that was being given about this was coming either from the president or from the then Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Administration, that is Kithure Kindiki, but then brings a concern that the police, according to the president's own admission and own action, is an independent institution, is independent in terms of having its own accounting officers. So there was the expectation that the police should also give a statement on the same. So wait to see whether these changes are going to influence the kind of response in terms of communication on the same. Now I want to cross back to Bernardo Juang, who's in Rongo, that's in the county of Migori, to give us a sense of what's happening both in Migori and in Homa Bay, in as far as he knows. Bernard?
Well, thank you very much, Dan. Sorry for that technical hitch. We were talking there before. I was telling you that in Migori County, demonstration started there in the morning, as early as 5 a.m. in the morning. And of course, we saw a group of youth coming towards the sides of Nyatike, coming to Migori town, that is CBD. They managed to block all the entry points. They tried to block Migori Bridge, at least to block the police coming from Migori police station, at least to take them away. In Ayawendo town, we saw angry youths. They blocked the main highway connecting Kisii and Sirare. And as we speak, currently business operations have been paralyzed, and even transport. We managed to talk to some of them here. They were saying that the main reason why they are demonstrating is to ensure that the government understand what they are what they want, they are fighting for. And also some of the issues that they were talking about, they are talking about the issue of police brutality. They were saying they want a quick investigation be done concerning about what has been happening, the people who have been abducted, and sometimes they are being released without any clear information as to why they were abducted and later released. And of course, let's go to Homa Bay County. Demonstrators started their demonstration as early as 6 a.m. in the morning, and of course they were talking, the ugly youths who were carrying placards, they were singing Ruto must go, and of course some of them tried to also access Governor Wanga's office, but the police in the area blocked them, and then later they came back to Homa Bay CBD, where they lit bonfire, blocked the main highway coming from Rongo town to Homa Bay town. Of course, as we speak, demonstrations still going on in Rongo. Business has started coming back slowly but slowly. But of course, a group of youth, they are saying that they are also monitoring what's happening in different places, is when also they will call off their strike as they wait for the announcement that will be made by their colleagues from different parts of the country. As we speak, we are still monitoring around, and of course we will be bringing all these footages as they happen. Back to you, Dan.
Thank you very much, Bernardo Juang, coming to us from Rongo, who covers for us both the county of Homa Bay and the county of Migori, giving us a brief and context to the footage that is on your screen, which speaks to what was happening earlier in the county of Homa Bay. And we can see the young people who are apparently agitated and are pretty much not not relenting on the cause that they're on from how their actions are. And so we look to see what the outcome of that is as we get even more updates as we proceed with our coverage and with our monitoring of the situation as it all unfolds in different parts of the country. I just to point out that this is not a Nairobi issue. This is not an urban area issue. It is also something that is playing out in different counties, some of which are considered to be rural counties, and even in some of the areas that are actually rural, there is activity happening there. So I want to come back to my guests in studio as we keep monitoring what is happening. Excuse me. And something else that has come to the fore, just again touching on the aspect of the young leaders who are there. Do you feel, again, in light of just asking whether you feel these young leaders have disappointed the youth, whether they're not meeting the the demands of the youth or the expectations, do you feel that if you look at the young leaders, even without necessarily mentioning their names, do you feel that you would vote, if you had the chance, you would vote in these same young leaders into power today?
I'd vote different leaders. I'd vote a young leader whom I have seen their impact in the current demonstrations. I'd vote someone whom I have seen amplifying the youth, the voices for the youth, not just because you are a young leader. And I'll say, as Margaret said, being young or being rather or the female or male gender does not guarantee you to be a leader or to be in position. We want to see what you can do. We want someone who can be accountable. We want competent leaders. So I'll vote someone whom I've seen their zeal to serve the youth. Not necessarily because you are there in those positions or not, but what have you impacted in our society ever since the demonstration started up to now? What have you done?
Okay, and some of them are accused of just trying to ride the wave, because right now everyone is trying to be on Team Gen Z.
Yeah.
We saw a man in Makweni who's nothing, probably the father of a Gen Z, and he said sisi kama Gen Z.
Sure. Yeah.
Do you feel that some of these leaders are just playing to the gallery, just trying to be on the right side of history?
I can attest and say that even some of the young people who are taking place, or rather, there are some people are really trying to elevate because of the current demonstrations. They are using it as a political strategy to prepare for 2027. But then, because to compare ground, we know people who are serious, and we know people who are taking advantage of the current situation. Because I am sure there are so many young people maybe who had political interest. Now they are seeing this as an elevator, or rather a chance to elevate and actually come into leadership spaces. But then they should know that we actually know the people who have the goodwill and people who are zealous to lead the young people and to amplify their voices and to speak what we want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Margaret, for you, do you feel that if you had a chance today to vote, for instance, just to vote for the young people in Parliament, let's use Parliament as an example, do you think you would vote all of them in, or do you think you'd vote some or none?
First, I would vote for only one, Gitonga Mukonji. I'm not in Embo, but then I've seen what he is doing.
Mm-hmm.
That shows that honestly for me, if I was supposed to vote, I wouldn't vote for anyone who has been here. For example, I believed in, I will mention them, I believed in Mwirigi so much. I believed in him, and I saw him as a light, as somebody who will hold young people together. It was just, he proved that young people can lead. At that particular point, I thought that he is somebody who is willing to work with young people. But then I've not heard him so much, and I've not seen his impact. So basically, what am I saying? I'm saying I would vote back somebody like Governor Kangata because of what he has done for the people of Murang'a. I will vote for somebody like or the likes of Gitonga, maybe. I have only those. Those are my best.
The rest will go home.
The rest will go home because I've not seen their impact. And honestly, sometimes I think the government should also consider benchmarking from maybe other constituencies that have done better, or the counties that have done better. For example, the governor of Murang'a have been able to collect revenue 1 billion plus, right? In this time that he has gotten in. So that means that there's just something that he is doing. He didn't increase taxes, he didn't do anything to people of Murang'a. He just decided to be accountable, he just decided to be responsible for the people of Murang'a.
Let me ask you, where did you vote?
I voted in Machakos County.
Machakos County.
Yeah.
Is any of the people who you voted for a young person?
Yes, I voted, but they failed.
So you would not vote for them today? As a voter in Machakos, if they were to have a chance for you to vote for them again, would you give them your vote?
No, the ones that I voted in, the only person who actually got in was the governor and on the MP of Mavoko.
Okay.
But then I wouldn't vote them back, unfortunately.
Okay. For you, just basically the same thread of question. If you had a chance to vote for the leaders that we have, the young ones, we have this special hypothetical election, would you vote any of the young leaders in?
There's a few of them. First of all, we're not saying that we want angels. We know that these people are human beings, and in one way or another they have their both strength and weakness. But for me, I always go for competency and character. And where competency is missing and there is character, I will go for it, because competency is something that someone can be able to learn. We want value-driven leaders. You see, I'm a student of ELF. I'm an alumni of ELF, and
what is ELF, for the benefit of those who don't know?
Emerging Leaders Foundation that is also molding, empowering young leaders to be value-driven leaders and just to be able to stand for something.
Yeah.
There's amazing young person, Karen Wakoli, doing amazing job in terms of creating value-based leadership. And that is what actually we have been lacking in this country. But currently, with the current setup, maybe someone who is kind of giving us some hope and believe in young people is, I'm not here to campaign for him, but Sifuna. That is one person who is a leader, is despite sometimes he has to balance between his position as SG of the party and the real issues affecting people. He kind of brings some hope to Kenyans, and you can be able to see it is not about words. You see that people who are good with words and can be able to drink you with their words, like the president did with his manifesto, and talking clueless and all those kind of things, but in the reality you're not implementing or doing any. So it's all about us. For me, is that I know a number of young people outside there. Also me as a young person, I don't want to be voted in as a young person. Please scrutinize me. If I fit the bill, then let me elect me. Do not elect me because I'm tribe X, because of political party and affiliation. Just criticize me for the longest period of time. What have you been doing? You see, so those are some of the things that we can be able to look into. But as for now, as at the stand, Anguka Nayo, we want to turn it upside down. Let everybody go home, and then we start afresh, because that will also help us to be able to get the right people.
So will you have a problem if, for example, some of the people who are dismissed are recalled?
I will have a problem, because the current cabinet CS wale wameenda nyumbani, let them go. We want nobody. And in fact, even we do not want a politician there. Because you see, being a cabinet secretary, it means you're serving all Kenyans. But you have seen where appointments are being made where you appoint a political, someone who is affiliated to your political party. It means this person is going to serve the interest of a few, rather than serving the interest of the majority.
Okay.
Because once the election is done, wewe ni CS wa kila mtu. We don't want to a situation where, allow me just to mention, Owalo Elido Owalo seemed to be, was before, he used to be like a CS of the Nyanza people, rather than a CS of the entire country, because most of his time he could be able to spend in Nyanza distributing maize and beans and all that, even forgetting about his role as the CS for ICT. So these are some of the things that we must also be questioning. We don't want to see a situation where Duale is engaging in political affairs, yet he has his responsibility that you need to be non-partisan and do not engage in any political affairs. As much as I still respect their democratic right, Article 38, in terms of participating in the political process, but we want to see fairness.
Okay.
So right now, because there also been conversation where the president is saying he's going to be able to consult, please just listen. As you consult, listen to what the Kenyans want. We want value-based leaders, leaders of integrity, people who we cannot be able to question their integrity. You see, someone like Maraga is somebody who has been tested. These are some of the leaders that at least we have faith in them. Talk about Busia Senator, you see, Onkio Mtata. So these are people who still stand for the people. You see, so we are just trying. We're not saying they're angels, but let's just try to be valued. And people who also have heart of service to the people. You see, also leadership is a calling. This is what we tend to forget. We tend to think that these people are honorable. What is honorable about them? You are a representative of the people. The only way, the reason why we elect one person to represent us is not all of us cannot be in that parliament. So we elect you as a representative of the people. And each and every time you are there to represent us. You consult with us. You listen to what we want. That is what we expected with the Finance Bill 2024. We expected our members of parliament to come, consult and tell us, okay guys, there is Finance Bill, what is your take? And then that is what they could be able to represent at the floor of the house. But with the current parliament, they're serving the interest of the executive, which they are supposed to hold accountable. You see, parliament kazi yake ni checks and balance, but that is not the case, and that is why we're also saying dissolve the parliament, let them go home, because they're not serving Kenyans. You see right now where we are, what is also difficult for the president to be able to realize, the power is now with the people. Because for the longest period of time, we have been pleading with you, please, can you listen to us? Can you serve us? Can you do what is right? Until that moment where we feel, okay, you did it in 2023, 2024, you're not going to do it again. Yet the Constitution allows us to be able to take back our power as Kenyans. The beauty of it is that all sovereignty, that itself Kenyans must be able to